Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Sunday morning chat time, and yet again a little bit different. On this miserable Sunday, it's pouring with blinking rain. There's quite a bit of wind around, but that was forecast. They do actually get it right sometimes. It's time to wave goodbye to some plants. So this is the video that I will identify what's to go, and some plants in the past have been asked for. I haven't got that good a memory, and yes, it's my fault. I should have made notes of who asked for what, but I didn't. Right, so we've got to start again. Now my large white Vanda with the tessellations and the purple lip, that is due to go, but it's already spoken for. So don't, unless you're the person that asked for it, which you will need to remind me again, but I did agree that that one would go. So first things first, I can only post to EU countries. Yeah, that's it. I don't make the rules, I'm sorry, but I can only post to the EU. Which bit of the EU doesn't matter. Yeah, but it's the time of year now. There's no cold weather forecasts, at least in my country. I can't speak for other countries, and therein lies a partial risk. You know, orchids in post in freezing conditions are probably not going to come out the other end very well, although some do better than others. So basically I will post a list in the description of what I've got to go. Some are recently repotted where plants have been split, and I don't need two, so I take a risk in getting rid of one of them on the grounds that the other one might die, and then I haven't got the plant anymore. But that's my risk, not yours. Many are keikis. Some are potted. Some are still bare rooted, and if they're bare rooted now, they'll be sent bare rooted. I'm not bad at packaging up and doing that sort of thing, but I will have to ask for a cost of the postage. You know, I'm not I'm generous, but I'm not that generous. My pockets aren't that deep, so they're not free as such. The plants are free. You know, there are very few plants that I would want any money for, but I will need my time and effort and postage reimbursed, and that's all I would ask for. So before you embark on this, you need to make sure you have the ability to get the money to me, and the ideal way of doing it is a PayPal money transfer. Yeah, if you've got a PayPal account, then there's a way of doing that. That's okay. Please do not put your personal details in comments under this video. But obviously I will need to be contacted, so I'll put my email address at the head of the description of this video. Contact me via that email, because I'll need personal details. I don't want those posted in comments. They can be used and abused, basically, so if they come via email, they're private, yeah, and that's how they'll stay. But I will obviously need address details and, you know, an exchange of details, basically. So it's that time of year, basically, and from my personal point of view, with what may happen with Brexit, like us walking away with no deal, then I wouldn't be able to post to anywhere except the EU. Because I wouldn't be able to deal with the paperwork, with CITES and photosynthery certificates, and it would make the cost prohibitive. It will basically rule out that ever happening again if Brexit goes wrong or right, depending on your viewpoint, but we don't do politics. I have my opinions, I must admit, but yeah. But if Brexit ends up being a walk away with no deal, then we will be excluded from the rules of the EU, and as such we will be like any other country, and transferring plants between countries needs paperwork, and it's going to mess up the shows in this country to an extent that many won't be able to take place anymore, because many of the people who come to the sort of more international shows like Malvern either come from the EU or farther afield, and they won't be able to get their plants in. My main worry is our big show at the end of the month, because it's actually on the 30th and the 31st. And as it stands at the moment, unless they change their minds again, Brexit actually happens on the 29th. Well, I hope people coming across from the EU have thought about that, because they'll have left to come to this country under EU rules. But when they go home on the 31st of March, those EU rules could have been removed, and they won't be able to get their plants back into their country. Yeah? They'll be subject to customs and paperwork. So I can't imagine they could possibly get that up and running that quick, bearing in mind that'll be a weekend. But there's an element of risk there, you know. My main worry is Malvern this year, because if Brexit goes wrong under those circumstances, that international orchid show will have to be cancelled, because the traders won't come. They won't be able to afford to come across with their plants, and then there'll be no point in the show, quite honestly. It'll probably just get cancelled, which will be a pain in the whatnot from my point of view, because I pre-booked my hotel in a non-refundable way. So I'd probably have to go anyway. But it's a good show, even without the orchids. You know, it's one of the largest shows in the country, as a country show, you know, and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, that's that. So the sort of things I've got are, there's Dendrobium, findleyanum, keikis. I think I've got about 6 of those. There's more keikis on plants that have yet to be removed from plants that are in a position to be removed, if you see what I mean. They should be successful. I mean, I'm very reluctant to take a keiki off a plant unless it's got open leaves and a root system. If you take them off too early, they just stall. But my hercoglossum here, that's starting to get buds showing in many places, that's got keikis on the plant. There's one there. I mean, that's got a couple of good roots and the leaves have opened. There's a couple of quite large ones down here. You know, one of those would be okay to take off. This one wouldn't. Although this one's quite large with leaves, it's only got one root at the moment. So there's a couple of hercoglossum keikis to take off, and there are a couple of hercoglossum keikis that were potted up last year that are actually in pots. This one here and this one here. So there's 2 of those, plus additional keikis. The findleyanum keikis, none of those are potted. They're all sat in a glass down in under there. What else have I got? I split the Peter Komp. I'll put pop-ups up of the blooms. That was split in 2 a while ago when I repot it, so there's one of those to go. My Shelob Tolkien, that got split into 2. So there's one of those to go. That's these 2 down here. So there's one of those to go. Now, obviously, the larger the plants, the more the postage is going to be. You know, but these are your choices. And there's a couple of other plants lurking. I think I've got 3 or 4 Sharry babies. Now, although I've always said you can't have enough Sharry babies, there's probably one of the smaller pieces of that can go. And there may be various other things. I'll have a think, but I'll put a definitive list up. What else has got keikis? The reason for the big box up here, let me get hercoglossum out of the way. It clouds the issue. Just sit down there for a minute. This one here. Now you have to bear in mind, this is what the plant can do. And as you can see, there are lots of keikis on this plant that have got little root systems. That's a good little plant as a starter. And I'm quite happy to put 2 or 3 keikis in together to make a good start-up, if you know what I mean. But this plant produces a lot of keikis. There are many on there, and that is chryseum, Dendrobium chryseum. Now, don't take that new growth as an example of what the plant should look like, because those new growths, although I was dead pleased to get them, because the plant had virtually no roots on it, because of that, they didn't grow as big as they should do. And they've all finished growing now, so they're not going to get any bigger. That doesn't mean they won't bloom down the line, but they should be this big. Yeah? But they stalled due to lack of roots. Now this year's growth, you know, should come out through here and push on and get to the full size. But you are looking at a large orchid there. That's never bloomed for me. I haven't had it that long. As I said, it came out of the big box and was the reason for the big box. It was a bit of a monster when I took that out. Couldn't quite believe it, I must admit. So there's some keikis off of that. You're interested in that sort of thing. And as I said, I'll put a list up of the things to go. There won't be any cattleyas because they're all single plants. None of them have been split. The only one that I've got two of was an infected plant. It's probably okay now, but it's still not growing properly. And I've already promised a piece of that to somebody. So, you know, if those two pieces do actually grow on, one will be for me and one will be already promised. So that won't be going anywhere. But I'll have a look round and see what I can find, and get some stuff in the post so that it can arrive before such times as a particular country might decide that it's not going to arrive and get stuck in customs or something daft. I would say straight away that I cannot guarantee a bug-free plant. Yeah? I mean, at this time of year, the bugs are, if they're lurking, they're almost dormant. But, you know, there are some plants that have had scale, and I've always said if you've had scale, you've probably still got it lurking there somewhere. I do keep on top of it. I haven't seen any mealybugs for quite a long time, but that doesn't mean to say they're not there, if you see what I mean. Those are the only two bugs, quite honestly. I don't get aphids. I have bought some plants and they've come in on the back of the blooms and things like that, but they're so easy to get rid of, I don't worry about those. As far as I know, there's no spider mites in here, but as I said, you know, scale is a problem in this grow room. And certain plants have been hit quite bad, others have never been touched. You know, it varies from plant type to plant type. So yeah. The other thing I wanted to say is pushing your luck with orchids, I suppose, that sort of heading. Each orchid type, and sometimes individual plants within that type, have what I call a comfort zone, where they are going to be at their happiest and should grow, bloom and do well. Now you can push your luck by not having that comfort zone spot on. And some orchids will put up with quite a long way off their comfort zone, quite honestly. And others are fussy enough that if you get too far away from that central point of the environment they want, they won't do well. They'll just either struggle or not make it, you know, brown bread job. And I've had some of those. But nonetheless, you can push your luck. But what I would say is the thing that will cause most problems is dry air. So, you know, wherever you grow, however you grow, whatever environment you've got, if you can keep your humidity up, your plants will do better across the board. There's very few orchids will tolerate dry air. They really do not like that. And some of them like ridiculous amounts of humidity. I mean, the recommended humidity level for Restrepias is 90%. You try that in your lounge and you'll have green curtains and green carpets, basically. You know, there's a limit to how much humidity you can have in the home without it having an adverse effect on your furniture, you know. So unless you've got a confined space, you know, a special place within the home, and some people do that. But, you know, there's a limit to how high you can push your humidity. I mean, I would say that the bottom line is 50%. And for some orchids, that's far too low, yeah? But for others, they'll put up with it, you know? I mean, certainly in the home, if you've got higher temperatures, there are ways of raising your humidity. You can even spray your plants. you know. But if you're going to spray your plants, do it in the morning so that the plants can dry off before any drop in temperature overnight. I mean, most people's houses are cooler at night than they are during the day because everybody's bobo's in bed tucked up under their duvets, so the temperature of the house doesn't matter so much. But and that's another thing, most orchids like a change of temperature between night and day. They do like to drop down a bit when it's dark. It just helps their metabolism, helps things go on. I mean, we all know that plants switch, yeah? During the day they take in carbon dioxide and give off oxygen. We're grateful for that. And then at night that switches around the other way, you know, and they tend to give off carbon dioxide with the gaseous exchanges through the leaves and things like that, you know, and that drop in temperature helps these processes work along with the change from light to dark and then dark to light again. You know, these are important things for plants. A plant grown in constant light will eventually not do well. And same as a plant grown in constant dark's probably not going to do too good either. Although I've been in caves where there is no light and yet ferns are still growing on the walls. You know, so some plants can put up with it. But yes, so plants to go. And as far as your environments are concerned, you know, everybody talks about light levels and things like that. Some plants will put up with the wrong light. What, you know, if you read in the books, like Masdevallias, you know, they're a low light orchid. They tend to come from montane forests where there's very little sunlight ever penetrates the mist and fog and the tree canopy. An unusual environment, that one. It's probably the most difficult to recreate outside of a dedicated grow space or greenhouse. You certainly have trouble doing that in the home unless you have a container, you know, terrarium or something like that. But nonetheless, if you think about it, my shade netting comes off in the winter and the sun comes straight in through that glass on my Masdevallias and Restrepias. Well, the books say that's an absolute no-no. No direct sun. Yeah, well, that may be true in Florida, but the sun in the UK in the winter is like shining a torch on the plants. It's not that bright. You know, your eyes think it is, but it's not. So mine put up with direct sun in those winter months. It's only a couple of months, and then I shut it out like I have now. Shade netting's up. So light levels can come and go, you know, and you get, you know, people say, well, I grow mine outside. It gets sun up till lunchtime, and you sort of think, oh, surely that's going to burn, but it doesn't. So there's a lot more flexibility in light levels. The only thing you can say about light levels is some plants, if they don't get enough, just won't bloom. They may grow great, but they might not bloom. So that's light levels. But quite honestly, the two bits that get forgotten a lot, especially in the home, are humidity and airflow. Orchids, if you look at those tropical forests, the air moves. It's either moving because the heat's rising and drawing in air from elsewhere, or they're breezy places, they're mountainsides. You know, they've got a constant airflow coming in from the coast, keeping everything moving around. So humidity and the airflow are the two forgotten elements that can improve your plant's life a lot. Yeah? So, I mean, obviously plants have got temperature ranges. I mean, recommended temperature ranges for Masdevallias, Restrepias and the like is low. Well, mine put up with 32, 33 degrees during that heat wave for nearly 3 months. They didn't die. Well outside their comfort zone. Yeah? So, you can push your luck. But there are some plants that are fussy enough that if you push your luck too far, they will either grow badly or not at all. So it pays to just find out how, you know, what your environment really is, and where your limits are, and then get orchids that suit that. And then they should just prosper and do well. And happy orchids equals happy people. And, you know, disappointments will probably still happen. That's life with orchids. But, you know, I mean, we still have to accept that you can buy a bad plant. You can just get one plant out of a batch that just will not grow. And you may never find out why. It's just how it goes. And, you know, some will do well. I mean, I've just noticed that it's highly likely that bud's going to blast. I'm just trying to remember what colour it is. No, I think that's going to blast, so that's going to drop off. I can't say why. You know, humidity's good in here. Doesn't get any sun on it. You know, nothing much has changed in here. I haven't got dramatic temperature fluctuations, but it looks like that bud's going to go. And yet others are doing well. You know, so you just have to accept the odd thing that just goes wrong. And like I say, sometimes you never know why. Okay, so I'll put my list of plants below this, what there is, and you know, people will need to remind me if they've already asked for something in the past, yeah, and I said, yeah, that will be fine. Just remind me, especially the big white Vanda. That's going to take some wrapping up and posting, that thing. That'll be a big box. And I will say in advance that some of those, if I can get the camera up there, this grew quite a few roots outwards. They stick out in many directions instead of hanging down. But there are plenty of hanging down roots. So some of those roots might get trimmed to get it packed. But it's a branching root system. Even old manky roots yeah, I mean, this root's dead here, but it's still shooting out. Yeah, so I could cut that root off there. It won't harm the plant. It's got more than enough to keep going. So the roots may get a little tidying before it goes in the box, whatever box I try and get it in. As far as I know, there's no spike on it at the moment. The other thing that I keep forgetting, where did I put it? Where did I put it? Oh, there it is, up there. Last year I took a load of keikis off of my Dendrobium loddigesii. That's quite a nice little mount full of young plants. Each of those plants is going to be a fair way off blooming, but nonetheless during this coming growing season, that lot should take off and produce new growth from the base and possibly even some keikis off of the plants. So that's going to make a nice mount by the end of this year, I suspect. So there's that to go. None of my Tolumnias are going anywhere. But anyway, as I say, I'll put the list up, and it's going to be difficult. What I might actually have to do, if there's quite a few people want one plant, well, you can't all have it. So what I might have to do is you know, use the random number generator. It's the only fair way I can think of, unless somebody already has a plant that I've promised them, and they will need to remind me of that. But apart from that, it'll probably, you know, like when you do a draw, that sort of thing. So, you know, the names of the people who've said they want a particular plant, they'll get allocated a number, and then I'll use the random number generator to allocate the plant. I mean, I don't expect a flood of people after the plants, but nonetheless, having volunteered to do it, I will have to deal with it. So, yeah, more work for Roger. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that today. I've got quite a few videos in the can, I think is the expression, or in the pipeline. So I'm not in a position where I feel like I've got to film every day for a while now, because I've got a few videos backed up, you know, that I've done previously. Some still need some work, but most are okay. So yeah, I'll see you next time. An unusual Sunday morning chat, you know, instead of thinking about orchids I'm going to get, I'm more interested in some of them being on their way at the moment. And we'll see how we do. But I'll put a brief description up of what there is, and you know, whether it's bare rooted, or whether it's keikis, or whether it's keikis that are potted, keikis that are bare rooted, recent splits that have been potted up, you know, but are newly potted, so they're fragile, you know, their roots won't be established in the pot yet, things like that. And you can shout and see what you want, and we'll go from there. And apart from that, there was something specific I wanted to say. Oh yeah, I had a look through my list of subscribers. Well, I can only see those that publicly declare that. There are obviously subscribers who keep that information private. So although they are subscribed, I don't know. Yeah, the information's kept private. Yeah, there are a lot of people I miss that have just gone, you know, just disappeared from YouTube. And it's like I said, when somebody just stops posting videos, you often wonder why. Are they just fed up with doing it? Lost interest? You know, did all their orchids die? They've got nothing left to video. Did they change countries and leave their orchids behind? There are many reasons to stop working on YouTube, sort of thing, but there's quite a few people that I miss, and I wonder what happened to them, you know. And this goes back to the days when I first started watching videos, before I ever thought about, you know, doing any myself. You know, and you have your favourites and ones that you chat to and things like that, and then they just go missing. They just stop. It's very strange. And some of it might just be that the novelty wears off. That can happen, you know. I mean, there is a bit of effort putting the videos together. I mean, I keep my effort to an absolute minimum, quite honestly. The effort really is holding this camera in one hand for any length of time like I'm doing now. But that's it, you know. I mean, when I decide to stop rabbiting and waffling on, you know, I'll take the camera in, plug it into the computer, download the clips, open up my software, drag the clips in, and save the video. There won't be any editing on this video, not this type, apart from a couple of pop-ups, and they're just easy to drag in, you know. So you know, I don't spend a lot of time working on the actual video. The time is really the time spent filming, you know. And I've got lazy videos, you know, the kitchen time, you know. Camera's on the tripod, all I've got to do is ferret around in my tray, you know, with smelly old mushroom media and stuff like that, you know. So I don't put a huge amount of effort into producing the videos, and that's my style. That's not going to change. I'm too lazy. But I know some people, you know, they work really hard on the video itself, and probably for them the filming is the easy bit. You know, the difficulty is the putting the video together and possibly choosing some music and getting that to fit and all that sort of thing, you know. But I don't do a lot of that, I must admit. I do have to put music to videos sometimes, like the filming of the shows and things like that. But I have a whole selection of music stored away in a folder. You know, I just need to find a piece that's suitable, that's the right length. Because the one thing I'm not too keen on is chopping and changing pieces of music through a continuous video. You know, and the one thing I really have never done and will never do is using the same bit of music over and over again because it was far too short. I don't do that. You know, I usually find a suitable piece. But yeah, I don't work hard editing and messing with the videos. And some might say you don't work that hard in thinking about what to film either. Well, this is what I've got. You know, so this is all I can film, not much else. I mean, I will be getting out and about as the weather gets better, and we'll be off in search of our native orchids and things like that on the, you know, the field trips, the days out. They make quite nice videos, you know. So yeah, that sort of thing to come as the year progresses. I mean, none of our English orchids are out yet. The earliest two, it would still be it's only just March after all. Oh, by the way, I think today is the magic day where we hit that 11 hours. Certainly in my part of the UK anyway. So that's good. But yeah, the first native orchids really are April. During April there's not going to be anything, I think, out in March. So it's a while yet. But I will be planning. I will be, you know, looking at the sort of places to visit. What's been seen there before. What time of year. And getting that organised. I didn't do that last year because I didn't have a reliable car, whereas this year I can just go and not worry about such trivial things. Ugh, that was a saga and a half, the car saga, wasn't it? Anyway, I'll leave it at that today. Thanks for all the people joining in with the Facebook page. I will say one thing though, the rate of climb on the number of people putting in friends requests is quite high, and I do believe that Facebook puts a limit on a normal sort of Facebook page to how many people that can actually be accepted as friends. So down the line we might have to rationalise that. God knows how I'm going to do that. But yeah, thanks for joining in with the Facebook stuff, and the people that have posted there, you know, with their own plants and problems, things like that. That's really why I set it up. It's a different environment to the YouTube environment. And I think I'll leave it at that. I was pleased to see Todd's one of these has just opened. Yeah? So it's nice to see when other people have got the same orchid as you. You know, they come out different times of year. Some are earlier, some are later. You know, but it's good to see the same orchid in somebody else's growing environment. I mean, I've probably got a lot of orchids in here that I don't know any other YouTubers that have got them. So mine's the only one, so I've got nothing to compare it with, if you see what I mean. Yeah, so it's nice to see other people with the same orchids, to see how theirs are doing. You know, compare environments, and well, yours is obviously doing a lot better than mine, but then you grow outside most of the year, and that has a dramatic effect on orchids. You know, there's something about being outside. But you know, in the UK, that I could do it for parts of the year, but then I'd have to have somewhere to put them. And our weather is so changeable and variable that half the time I'd be taking them in and out, and I can't be bothered with all that. So they live in here, they stay in here. This is their world, and they know no other world. So that's how it's going to be. And yeah, I'll see you next time. I've waffled enough, and it's coffee time. It's, as I say, it's very early in the day, and yeah, I need more coffee. I need to get going. And I might do a bit more repotting today. Those are the sort of videos that are building up, if you know what I mean, the kitchen time. I've got a lot to repot, and I need to push on with it, if you know what I mean. So I'll be filming the different types as I go by. I won't be filming every single repot. It'll get very boring. But you know, I've got quite a lot of different types of orchids in here, so as one of those comes up that either hasn't been filmed before or hasn't been done for ages, I'll choose to film that one. And apart from that, enjoy your orchids, have fun, and I'm sure most people are going to have a nice lazy Sunday. Unfortunately, I do have some things to do today, so it won't be that lazy. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by, and let me know about the plants. Say, put a comment in to sort of show your interest, and then, you know, if you're serious, then I'll need an email, you know, confirming what you're after, and you know, the contact details. You know, I need somewhere to send these plants. So, and I'll keep in touch as to, you know, when things are posted and all that sort of stuff. But I need to get on with it. We're into March now, and by the end of March my options could be greatly reduced if things don't go as some people plan. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.